Welcome to Childhood Trash, a dumpster dive into our childhood nostalgia, where we re-examine some of the most influential media from our youth in order to answer the question, tragic or nostalgic. I'm your host, Maggie Keating, joined by my co-host,
Pia Lavaka.
Pia, how are you doing?
I am so excited, Maggie.
I am also thrilled because today we are interviewing a very influential person from our childhood, so the biggest name we've had so far.
Truly, royalty in the field of childhood nostalgia. I am, buzzing. I cannot wait.
I can't believe he said yes. I can't believe he responded.
I think that's our first question to him, is why? We're kind of, burying the lead here. We're going to be interviewing Paul Hoen, the absolute icon.
And director of many Disney Channel original movies.
We don't even have time to name them all.
But we're going to try.
We're going to try our best.
So, okay, starting with the ones that we've actually covered already in the podcast. Read It and Weep and Jump In. Are you kidding?
Previous episodes of the pod. We catch up later.
We didn't even realize we were going to be able to get him on the podcast, and it's just so cool. Cheetah Girls, One World, which is one of the Cheetah Girls sequels.
Number 3.
Yeah.
The Troop? Oh my god, I just found this out.
Yeah. Yeah. Camp Rock 2, Let It Shine.
Cloud 9,
which is insane. How to Build a Better Boy.
Invisible Sister.
He's done all 3 of the Zombies movies, which are more recent Disney Channel original movies.
And just too many more that we
can't
name. We can't even.
And along with a ton of TV.
Yes.
So some of the TV, which is also really important. I think the biggest one so far is High School Musical, the series. He's done 4 episodes of.
Yeah.
Which is insane. We have Liv and Maddie. We have
Zeke and Luther.
Jonas. Supposedly Sabrina the Teenage Witch. And also Andy Mack.
He is still working for Disney. We can't wait to get all the tea as much as we can about the kind of good old days of the DCOMs and where they're going right now. I can't wait to hear about what's going on right now.
I know, and what he's working on next.
Yeah, and in the Disney Plus realm of it all, I'm so interested.
Yes, so he was working kind of freelance for Disney for a long time.
Yeah, and
is
now
kind of what we picked up, and now he's officially hired by Disney Channel to work on all of these the Zombies movies and
I'm sure he has some other stuff.
Yeah, the more recent stuff that has kind of flown under our radar, but stuff that is very popular right now
for today's
kids.
Yeah, so we're so excited. So without further ado, let's
jump into the interview.
Yeah, let's go talk to him.
You've done so much stuff that we love, and we're really excited to talk to you.
Oh.
So, so you have quite the impressive catalog. Can you give us some details about how you got started in the industry and how you got into working with Disney Channel?
So I was in college, which I assume you guys are, right?
Yes.
And I was a theater major, and I started in high school, and I really thought I wanted to be in theater. I saw a musical, and I thought, holy cow. This is really super cool. And so I got into college, and I was a theater major. And then, it wasn't really my vibe, or at least their program wasn't really my vibe. Mm-hmm. And I had a lot of people who were television or communication majors, were doing stuff in TV. So I just decided, this is great. I'm going to go over here to this television department. And so I worked in that TV department, and I was, I directed things, and they made commercials, things that were just a little bit more accessible than Moliere or whatever.
Yeah.
So then I graduated, and I got into, so my whole thing wasn't I'm going to be a film major and, and go to film school, and I want to make movies like Steven Spielberg. So I just sort of fell into different things. And then I went and I worked in Variety. I worked on a show called Solid Gold. I was a PA. I typed scripts. I did music breakdowns for the directors, And then finally I moved to an AD, and I was working on this show called Kids Incorporated, which was a Disney Channel show with kids who worked in a theater and sang and were in a band and, early Channel. Yeah. And then that guy did a show called The Secret World of Alex Mack, which was a single camera film show on Nickelodeon. And I just, at that point, just begged, I got to get out of the booth. I don't want to sit in this dark room and scream at people by pushing a button. I would really like to just, direct some single camera stuff, which started a whole kind of career at Nickelodeon. with shows that they did over there. And then at the time, Disney wanted to be Nickelodeon, so they started to do all these similar shows like Even Stevens and I don't know, there was one where there was people in a ambulance that were teens, and there was a whole bunch of stuff that they tried, right? And so I started doing those shows, and then the Disney Channel decided that they wanted to do these films, which now they've done over 100 of them, I think. They were looking for somebody who knew how to work with kids, knew how to do single camera, and they said, we need to use this guy, Paul. And I did the movie Luck of the Irish, and from that point on, it's been a lifetime.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So that's it.
We were just talking about how much we love the Luck of the Irish.
Yeah.
It's like a staple for St. Patrick's Day.
Right, yeah, I know.
Yes.
That's
I
so
remember
funny.
reading it and thinking to myself, like, this is really good. I'm so excited.
Yeah.
I was laughing.
That's a fun one. So obviously you've worked on so many kind of kids media, kids shows and movies. What's it like working mostly with young actors, and how has that changed over time?
It's changed with me as, because, when I started, I was closer to age to them.
Sure.
And also trying to, do something good and further my career. So I think, if anything, I was definitely put a lot of pressure, I think, on them, when I was younger, it's got to be great, because if it's great, then this show's great. And so all of our careers were sort of working together, kind of. And, if I had to look back and say, I was a little bit more of a hard ass, I guess, and more frustrated that things weren't exactly, people weren't hitting their marks, or lines weren't delivered, or people didn't show up, and then as I started seeing it more what happened to kids, and it kind of changed my attitude on how I approach things and how I work. I'm a little bit more of a nurturing kind of a guy at this point, and and encouragement. And I also, I like to see new people coming along, and I sort of feel like I can give them cautionary tales about, what happens. And then, but just overall, in general, there's a lot of stress because people are inexperienced, but then there's also a lot of reward because people mostly are there to do a great job, who see themselves as having a career. And, I remember when Dove started on Cloud 9, she really was super excited that she was part of the quote unquote, she called it the Disney Mafia,
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's good. So, and working with adults and stuff, they're concerned about completely different things, how they look, they spend way more time in makeup and hair than our kids do. And so it's that, in that sense, it's a blessing, and I get to do fun things. I get to, be in weird places and adventures and things like that. So that's all kind of a lot more fun than, say, a Hallmark movie or,
Yeah, definitely. It's really cool. It's really cool to, we've, obviously looked at a lot of the movies you've done and seen a bunch of them, and to see how some of the actors have become really really famous people. We were just talking about Let It Shine and Abbott Elementary, and how some of the actors from that are all grown up now. It's super cool. So
yeah. And I hope they all come back. Sometimes there's been, we worked too hard and I had this, and I don't know. I kind of think, I know, I go that is the downside, but the upside is you're famous.
Yeah.
And you have a task. It's like going to school. Mm-hmm. It's just you start out a lot younger. You decide your career a lot younger.
Yeah.
So
that's definitely true. So we've done 2 episodes of our podcast already on movies that you've directed. So we've done Read It and Weep and Jump In, which we loved both of those.
So much.
Yeah, our whole idea is going back and seeing if these kinds of movies still hold up. And we thought our general idea with both of these is that they did. And we were so excited that you responded to us actually in the first place. But we just wanted to, I guess, get your thoughts on like making those movies. What was it like? Any like specific memories or the process of doing that?
Let's see. Read It. Which one should I start with? I guess Read It and Weep was after Jump In or before?
I think it was after.
After, yeah. So, Jump In started, so I don't know, maybe it was my third movie I did, this movie called Eddie's $1 Million Cook-Off, right? And it kind of started this genre of these movies that are about kind of gender roles, and they're kind of coded sort of like whoever, I mean, they're coded, well, on the surface, it's like, be whoever you want to be, but a lot of these, like Eddie's $1 Million Cook-Off is kind of saying something like, it's, if you're gay, it's okay, basically. So which was a big deal at the time, that, and that's something that I'm proud of, that because the writer of Eddie's $1 Million Cook-Off was gay, and that sort of model then actually turned into High School Musical. It's kind of the same model for Let It Shine. It's also the same model for Getting Back to Jump In.
Yeah.
So the Jump In thing, so I think at first I was kind of like, this script, it's the same thing again, and what can we do different? And I think I was already sort of on the verge of like, okay, not telling your dad what your real, passion for life is. Maybe we've done it all. And I was sent to Toronto to do it. They said they have somebody there who's, going to get all the double Dutch people, right? And because there's a lot of teams in the movie, right?
Yeah.
And we went to this guy in New York who was, part of that theater and part of that famous competition in New York about double Dutchers. And he was drunk. He showed me only like little teeny kids. Like,
oh my gosh.
And, I'm like, I was telling the producer, Tiki, is like, these are teens. Like, they're not like little teeny kids. There's some parts, but, and when we went to the school that he was supposed to show us people, that school didn't know who he was.
Oh my God.
And I just thought, oh my God, this is a disaster. We have nobody who can give us these people, because we needed a lot of teams, plus we needed doubles for, Corbin and Kiki and the two girls, that were on the team. And I wrote back to the channel. I got home that night in my hotel in New York and said, I think you need to send me a different script. Like, I don't think we can make this movie. I think it's impossible. And so the executive Disney called the producer, the line producer, and who said, no, it's going to be okay. And like everybody talked me off the wall that we could actually get these people. And so the whole prep for them was, they had this one, the production manager would send out all over Canada and the United States. When I went to that guy's apartment, we knew we weren't going to use him because he kept calling me Mr. Double Vision because I wear glasses.
Oh my God.
But I was sitting there, I was like writing down like, oh, here's the program for this double. I'm going to write down these team names. And so we just started, I have to say, the producers started to like pull that thing together like I could not believe. And they would show me tapes like every single day. Look at this team. Look at this team. And so by the time we had a lot of them, and then Corbin and Fiki came along, and I mean, when they went into rehearsals, they were like completely amazing. Like they could do almost everything that we needed them to do. Like we rarely needed to use their doubles for anything.
Wow.
So, which was, completely shocking. It just is like one of those things where you think the movie is going to be, oh yeah, it's just this average deal. And then you suddenly see how this whole thing progresses and you go like, oh my God, this is fantastic.
Yeah.
Like who knew? So it was a scary thing, but I always say movies like sometimes the magic happens and sometimes it doesn't. Like you can have the greatest script in the world and it can be this just nightmare and it turns out terrible. And sometimes you can have the most average script and it just lights a fire and it turns great. And that was, I wonder if I can't mute this. I'm worried it's going to go ding every 5 seconds.
No, you're okay.
So that was that movie. And, I don't know. I love that movie. I love them. I love Kiki and I love Corbin. I love the production design. I sort of love the working script. Kevin Lafferty did that and Doug McCullough, who's a production designer. And they also did Camp Rock 2, the Final Jam. So that, and I would love to go back and work with them again. And then, Read It and Weep was interesting because it's such a simple little story, and there's not a lot, I mean, there's a prom, but whatever, it's, and we tried to make that bigger and do what we could. But it was also of those days where I could get a script and sit down and actually rewrite it and do things and kind of shape it into something. And so all of that was trying to give it a visual interest, which was, this iPad computer, which somebody showed me, right, where you can actually draw, which I remember finding it and somebody showed it to me. And I thought, oh, wow, we can do stuff with graphics. And since it's about her journal, we can make that all look really interesting. And I think we gave it to Kay. Everybody was like, I want a computer like that.
Yes, so were we.
Everyone.
And now there's an iPad, and it's like, oh well, whatever, it's old hat. But that was the fun part about that movie, is trying to make something visual out of somebody's writing in a journal, because that could be really like boring, right? Mm-hmm. And then the other person who was just, the cast was tremendous, and Kay especially, who wasn't in a lot. I think they always had high hopes for her. I had worked with Danielle on something else, but she was kind of she was just a charm, and she was so good in that movie.
We're both creative writing majors at our college, and so like Pia was saying that it was like her origin
story. Yeah. I feel like I watched that movie and I really took it to heart.
Yeah.
That's so
well, good for you. That's a good job to have.
Yeah, super exciting.
Good major to have.
Yeah.
Because it'll take you far.
Thank you.
So I apologize for the redundancy, but we do kind of want to talk about almost everything. So
keep going over.
Our next movie that we kind of pulled out from your extensive catalog that we both love is Cloud 9. Uh-huh. And so you kind of already touched on a little bit of that, but like, what was your experience working on that one? Like, that one's super like cold and like frosty. I'm not sure if I know where they filmed it, but it seems like a fun set to work on.
I definitely have talked to a bunch of people and asked them, like, we've had lots of conversations with our friends for this podcast to learn like what people loved when they were kids. And Cloud 9 came up a lot. Like, everybody thought the snowboarding was super cool, and seeing that in a movie was awesome. So we wanted to know, like, how did you guys get that in a movie like that?
I think when you're younger as a director, you're like, yeah, we can do this, and it's going to be great. and
Got it.
And then, like every day it's dark and you're sitting there on a nice, I have pictures of me like with this, it took a half hour to get dressed every morning because it was like so cold. And I have pictures of me like trying, like my gloves are off and I'm trying to text somebody on my iPhone.
Oh my God.
And it's a giant blizzard and I'm lying on the ground.
Oh my God.
and so you would have to, like, in order to do those stunts, there's no, it's a steep like mountain, right? So you have to kind of, okay, we're going to start at the bottom, or actually we would all hike to the top with all the equipment as light as we possibly could. And then do the takeoff, and then maybe there would be another camera which would do the second pass of it, and then the person wouldn't go all the way down. And then we'd have to hike down to this half of it so the person crossed on this side. And then go down to the bottom, come back up again, top the opposite side halfway up, and get the other person the other way. So the whole thing, at one point, the camera operator, who's a little bit of a hothead, was like screaming at me, like, there's got to be an easier way to do this. This is insane. Never doing this. a snowboard movie like this before. Because there was at one point that I was behind the camera and a snowboarder came like but was supposed to come right next to us, but actually landed right on top of us from in the air. So it's like, he's 20 feet up in the air and we're all like, oh God, oh God, oh God, oh God. And, and then boom, and then hit the camera and the operator, and we all slid down the mountain, and the camera totally covered in snow and ice and, And then another time I was coming up and I was talking to somebody on the telephone, and they were doing this big thing where this person goes up in the air like the fall, and they have a bag. So they come up on the side and then they twirl around, right? And then he loses control. I think this was the big, accident. Mm-hmm. And then he comes down to the ground and you see him pass the thing and he hits this, a big pad, like a boxes and things like that. Well, I'm talking on the phone and I'm coming up and I'm watching them do this because to get to the set, you had to hike up the side of the mountain with I wore crampons, to get up there with all the crew. So they had snowmobiles that went up there, but if you were up there, it would just be easier for you to walk. Mm-hmm. And he comes up like this. Here's the pad. He comes down, he's twirling, he lands on his back to land on the pad and he misses the pad and hits his back. And I'm on the phone and I'm like, oh my God, and I drop the phone and walk up to the guy who's lying on his back in this hard ice because those half pipes are just, So anyway, he was fine.
Okay.
But the thing is that Disney had the most workers' comp, whatever you call that, filings of any of their movies that they ever did, and they still claim that it's the hardest Disney Channel movie that anybody has ever had to do. Just because it was night and snow, and then at some point, it's kind of a thing. You just want the snowboard competition to look good, so we had fireworks, up the side of the thing, and these lighting companies had to somehow get lights up the side of it. So
the whole production,
that was hard.
Yeah.
They just keep getting harder and harder as life goes on. That's what I have to sort of say about these Disney Channel movies.
Yeah,
they start out as read it and weep, right?
Yeah.
But like in The Irish, where it's mostly character and funny and things like that, and then pretty soon we're doing zombies where it's everybody's affected and it's shit.
It's a whole crazy thing.
And bigger and bigger and bigger. So anyway,
on that same sort of subject, we were talking about how Camp Rock 2 and Let It Shine were both musical type movies. So what is the process like for filming that kind of movie, and were actors really good at singing when you hired them, or did they have to get coached, and what was that like working with them?
Well, so everybody, I think that's a sort of a thing that happened once High School Musical hit and it became this giant thing. Then it became sort of this mandate, this is the thing we're going to do, right? And fortunately, I know musicals and I know how to do it. So it was easy for me to kind of keep going into that sort of genre. And then I think Camp Rock I did first, or did I do the Cheetah Girls first? I can't remember.
I would guess Cheetah Girls, but
Cheetah
I can't
Girls
remember.
seems first.
Yeah.
But you're right. That is
so I mean, I think maybe
well.
maybe the Cheetah Girls, they were a little more worried about is he going to be able to do this musical number? And, and is he going to, because they had Kenny who had done a musical before. And I had not. I had done Jump In, which was musically driven, but it wasn't fantasy or I'm going to start singing musical.
Yeah, exactly.
So then we can talk about that because that was a whole experience, Cheetah Girls.
Yeah.
But Camp Rock was really driven. It was driven. It came out of a place of they're all performing, right? Mm-hmm. And the Jonas Brothers were hugely talented at that point. I had done the series first, actually, before the movie, we did. So there was all of that around them. You would leave the hotel and it would be like the Beatles. You'd be all these girls and crazy fans would be stalking the hotel and security guards. And so it was for them, they just blew up between Camp Rock 1 and Camp Rock 2. And I think the thing that I like about Camp Rock 2, or what I'm proud of, is that, you got to look at Camp Rock 1 and go, yeah, it's great, and it's great because of Demi and the boys, and they're so young and inexperienced. But just as a concept, like the look of the movie and what the camp actually is, it's kind of confused and not, really. And so in Camp Rock 2, okay, there's this other camp, which is Camp Star. So now we can have this big giant stage, with fire effects and all, $200,000, like lighting thing. And we actually built the camp, all the cabins and all that kind of stuff were actually on this place called Rockwood, which was a lake. So we built all that and designed what the camp would look like. So we didn't have to, drive to a bunch of these camps, which were all over the place. And we used some of the stuff of the original camp. We were just there for a few days to do like the opening sequence, but the rest of the time we were not there. So that was just fun. It was fun, like really blowing out what Camp Rock really was going to look like. Yeah. And it was fun working with the Jonas Brothers and Demi. My sort of feeling was that she seemed super happy, and I think she was a joy to work with. And I knew she was going through stuff, and I was warned at the beginning of it of like what the stuff that she was going through. But when she was there, I didn't feel like she was particularly, stressed out, or I felt like she was happy.
Yeah.
I think she was dating Joe at the time.
Oh my goodness. Oh my gosh. All the fun stuff.
All the teen drama that you got to experience.
So fun.
So fun.
We were saying how, like, we did an episode on Lemonade Mouth recently, and we were saying, like, there was talks about a sequel, but what if it wasn't as good? And then Pia was like, well, what if it was like Camp Rock 2? Like, what if it was like
even
another like good one?
Better, right.
Like,
yeah.
That is something that we definitely took away from Camp Rock 2. Is like, sometimes the sequel isn't nearly as good, but it was definitely like the music is great in that one, and just so wonderful. Yeah.
I mean, there are some good songs in Camp Rock 2. There isn't that "This Is Me" song. That's the only thing that I could kind of say that is really like the thing. And what we should have done is kind of brought that into Camp Rock.
Like a reprise.
Yeah.
That would have been good.
I can see that.
But we never really thought of like you could do that. We always had to have a new album. But anyway.
It's fair. Makes sense.
You got it.
I don't know what it's called.
I don't know what it's called either.
Okay, well, there's a scene in Camp Rock 2, and I believe it's when the original Camp Rock is like going to challenge Camp Star.
Right.
And there's this dance that they do when they're...
it's now become like this kind of...
Yeah. We just wanted to hear your thoughts on it. It's blown up, and we love it.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing is that was... We were at this place, and they say they kind of march in, they stop in, and I told, maybe it was Rosario, who was like the choreographer, I go, they need to do something, like they need to have some kind of clap, step kind of thing. So we got to come up with something. So they were like, come up with something. So they all sat there and figured out like Demi and Joe and the choreographer and all the people that were in there, like literally standing on the trail, we're like, okay, we're gonna do this, and
that's so great. Oh my god,
whatever this thing is. And then Camp Rock, and the judges were concerned about not wanting to dance ever, and so they weren't going to do that, but they could, yell and come up the rear. Yeah. So it was all like, I go, okay, great. All right, here we go. And literally in 5 minutes, this thing, we did it just to get them to the marks so they could do the scene.
Yeah, that feels...
I think was funny. And then when I saw it on the thing, I thought like, oh, wow, the littlest things turn into like the most famous.
Yeah.
That's so crazy. That's
But
incredible that was like 5 minutes, and yet it's like the most iconic scene now.
Right.
It's something that would happen at a summer camp.
And then people use it to cut together different things.
Yeah, it's so great.
I love it.
I think I've seen like a Harry Potter version of Camp Rock, where it's the Harry Potter people like looking up and staring at the Camp Rock.
Yes. Oh my god. All the different videos of it are great. Yeah. So we wanted to move into the TV that you've done as well. So you've directed some episodes of Andy Mack, High School Musical, the musical, the series, mouthful. Right. Ned's Declassified, and maybe Sabrina the Teenage Witch. Is that?
I did one episode.
Okay. Yeah. So
we weren't sure.
Okay, I want to start with Sabrina the Teenage Witch because that's really cool.
That was like one of my favorite shows as a child.
What was that like? And only only the
directed
one. And just like, what was your experience with that?
Well, I think the fact that I only did one just to show you that it really wasn't my genre of, like television to do, even though it says like every time on my IMDb it says most known for Sabrina.
Like, not true.
Like, nope.
So the funny thing about that show was that it was so I came in there from doing single camera stuff, right? And I know it was on film at the time, and the job of a multicam director is like so completely different than the job of a single cam director or a movie director, right? And so I had that experience, and so coming into the thing, I wasn't used to, they had 4-wall sets, there was no audience, so I thought, oh, well, what? Oh, there's an extra wall here, let's move this wall, which nobody had ever done before. And I was, one of the actors said, oh, you mean I get my own private scene here? And I go, yeah, it's just you, and I'll just read the off-camera lines, and because you're just observing what's happening here. So I'm just shooting that separately, right? So I wasn't really I didn't kind of get that it's supposed to be like a play and everybody's supposed to do what they want, like I thought you could do it well, and there's no audience here. So
yeah,
I later learned from the other remote camera things. I mean, I learned from that, but Anna was one of the moms wasn't very nice to me. So the whole thing, and it was also weird. Like I would only work like so many hours, like, oh yeah, you go to the table read and then you're done for the rest of the day, right? And I just couldn't get my head around it. Shouldn't I be rewriting, or shouldn't we be, I just could not get my head around that whole like process. I should have. And then the other thing about that process is you're kind of a traffic cop where like the cast complains about the writers, the writer complains about the cast.
It's like a whole...
and then you're the guy in the middle, oh, I'll go talk to them about that.
Oh, God. Yeah.
Line like this, and they think the script should be this, and okay, and or the executive producers are telling you they're not hitting the joke, go and tell them this, and then you go out and you have to. So to me, it was I didn't know what the skills were that I should have for it, and I didn't know the personalities, and I mean, Melissa Joan Hart was sweet to me and quite nice, and the other ones, it was the end of the season, and I remember they were kind of like everybody's going out partying.
Oh my God, yeah.
We're doing this movie or whatever this episode. So anyway, so it wasn't. Later, I figured out the deal. Like I did Raven, I did some other Disney Channel stuff, and so I kind of figured out like what that process is.
Yeah, and then with High School Musical, the series. This is a really exciting project to work on. I think that's so cool,
and it's so different too because it's like a mockumentary too.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
What was your experience on that show and with the actress? There was so much. I feel like there was so much drama that.
Oh, true.
But also like it's an amazing show, and I moved on from like my Disney Channel shows, but I definitely went back and watched it when it came out.
For sure.
Yeah. So I didn't do the first season, which was really good, I thought.
Yeah, I loved the first season.
Because, Olivia and Josh, they were just, I think, fantastic together, and you had that kind of like love story thing. And then the second season is when I came on. I got 2 episodes, and they wanted to just kind of make it just a little less documentary, shake it around. They hired a different DP, and they want to just settle down a little bit and focus on the drama. I prepped, and I shot like 4 episodes or 4 days of an 8-day shoot or something like that. I think they'd take 8 days to do 2 of them. And COVID hit, and they shut the whole thing down.
Oh my God.
So
I didn't even think
like right
about
after that scene where she's singing in the pizza shop. I don't know if you remember that episode, but I think that was the last thing I shot. And then Tim got up as the executive producer and said, okay, everybody, we're going home. And they sent everybody home for like, I don't know, almost a year, right? When everything was in lockdown for a year. And then a year later, I came back, and they gave me the episodes that I had already prepped, and then 2 other ones, to shoot. And we shot that all, at least my experience there was all shooting during COVID and figuring out how to do it, how to do masks. There was all these rules about cast can only be on the stage for 15 minutes at a time, and then they
wow.
have to go. And the thing that I came up with was like, let's just not rehearse. I'm going to put marks down because I can do this. And they can come and talk to Jason Earls, who was the dialogue coach, and work with him on how to. But and then I'm just quickly going to give what they're going to do and what they're going to say and how they're going to do it, and then we're just going to shoot it. And we're so good, they just delivered, just fantastic performance. They would come in, stand, do what they had to do their lines. Tim or I would come up and say, we need to fix this or that, or we need this, and then they would go back. And, I just think my only sadness is I didn't really get to do a big, I did a couple big numbers towards the end with a lot of dancers, but it was really, they just didn't, they couldn't because of the COVID testing and things like that.
Oh, man.
To get through the whole thing. But that's just a testament to that group of people that they got.
Yeah. It's an amazing cast. For
super talented. They're all like, triple threats, they call them. I think you asked that same question earlier. Maybe I didn't even answer. Disney doesn't there's rarely a thing that they don't try to get somebody who can actually sing, dance, and act.
Yes.
It's not like they're going to find just an actor and say, we'll figure out the singing. It happens sometimes, but mostly all those kids can do everything.
Yeah. It's really cool.
It's crazy awesome, yeah. We also wanted to know if there is kind of like one project, like film, TV, or something that you think kind of changed the like trajectory of your career, or like that you might be most like hold near and dear.
Well, I think The Luck of the Irish probably is the one that
makes sense.
Because I was doing the series stuff, before that. And I think at the time they were like, I don't think Gary, who was the boss at the time, like even really liked the movie, like saw it was like, yeah, I don't know, And then like it aired and 8 million people watched it.
Yeah.
And for the second time, 8 million people watched it again. And
oh my God.
people were calling and saying, this movie turned out great. And Henry Gibson was getting, kids were stopping him on the street, and he told the casting person that, about all the projects that he's done in his life, which he could like laugh in and a whole bunch of stuff that, we don't even know, or I don't, you probably don't know. But, he's a pretty famous guy, and he said, I've never had anything, like it. And I think when it did that well and the response were so good, then it kind of got me other ones like True Confessions and things like that. And then I just kind of, you get branded no matter what you do. So when you guys decide to do, everybody goes, oh, he's such a, I'm not blowing my horn, but people say, oh, he's such a great director and he should be not doing hit shows or something, and like makes me mad because I just kind of think, I just feel proud. I feel proud like that you guys are, I've always walked into these things thinking I just want it to be great no matter what I can do. I'm kind of a pain in the ass that way with people, Is he driving me crazy about this? Yes, we'll change it, but so it hasn't been ever a phone-in job with me. And so once that started happening on that role, I think that's kind of where I am today talking to you guys.
I definitely feel like there's always like an expectation for writers, at least at our college, where they have to write a certain way or write like not genre kind of stuff. But, it's like exciting to hear that, people are really into that and can still do what they love and not feel like...
And you never really know. I think you have to, as a writer especially, you have to like go with your heart, and say, I just know this is good. And I, so many times, some things that are really great, like if you look at Everywhere, Everything, All at Once, you can kind of like go, wow, that's the biggest mind-blowing thing. But in reality, it's a story of a mom and her daughter, and...
Yeah, that's...
And how she sacrifices for her daughter in the end, and the daughter realizes how much her mom loves her, and you could put that story into any package, but it's sort of how you tell it. And
I adore that movie. The directors went to our college, so it's a big deal here.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, we go to Emerson, so it's like big.
Got it.
Yeah, also a big
Where is
film
Emerson?
school. It's in Boston. Yes, it's a big film school. So we also wanted to ask, I guess in the film school, do you have any like advice for up and coming directors or people who want to get into the industry?
Yeah. I think, well, no matter what it's going to be, it's no matter how great you think you're doing now, unless you're David Mamet and you just completed the script by the time you're a senior and everybody wants it. Yeah. I mean, there are those stories, but the more common stories are you get out, you find, the place that you want to be, that you get a job that's going to pay you not a lot of money, and they're going to make coffee and sandwiches for people, and you just have to do that with like the most amount of enthusiasm possible. Like you went to college to learn how to make sandwiches, or how to make coffee, or carry somebody's chair around, because in editing some story where Steven Spielberg really loves this one editor's assistant because he found a hard chair for him to sit in, and it's like, so it's those connections that you make with those people. Those are the ones, like if you're a writer and you're a PA on a show that's a show that you like to do, like say you're on Snowfall or some show, you'll meet other writers in that room and other directors of that show. And if they see how enthusiastic you are, they want to make you successful. They want to have you succeed because they did the same thing.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, that's the thing. The hard thing is you're spending a lot of money. You're working with like a lot of great people in this college. You're writing. You may be on the top of your class in what you write, and people may tell you all this good stuff. But then you come out, and it's like putting all of that away, because someday you're going to access it. But now it's about this. I've got to be this person. And you got to just keep the faith that it will happen to you.
Yeah, thank you.
That's
really cool.
That's awesome.
Good to hear.
That's good to know, yeah. Speaking of making connections and networking, have you kept in touch with some of the people that you've worked with on these kind of more like earlier 2000s and 2010s stuff we've been talking about, or worked with them on other stuff?
AJ Trouth, who played, Shia's friend on Even Stevens, he wants to build a pergola, so I still talk to him regularly. I don't talk to Shia so much. Demi, not so much. My son just went to the Saturday Night Live where the Jonas Brothers were, because he goes to the new school in New York.
Oh, yeah.
Almost one.
And he's friends with Molly Shannon. So he walked up to the Jonas Brothers and said, "Oh, my dad's Paul, and oh my God, how's he doing?" And
that's really sweet.
So that there are a couple of them that I still see. It's but a lot of them don't. It's it's tough, I think for them. Sure. Larissa Olenek I just recently talked to, because she's now acting again. Like she's kind of survived and become a working actor. It's just hard for these kids because they become a star, like really big stars, really young, and then they've got to figure out afterwards, like, okay, I guess I'm playing the mom in this role, or like it's just difficult for them to go with the thousands of likes and 12 million followers types. It's even harder with social media. But I don't know. I'm still doing the zombies thing, and so Meg texts me occasionally, "What's going on with this?" And same thing with Milo. Like when I'm in the thing with them, I cultivate that more.
Yeah.
But then people go and they do their own things. And I'm still Paul here at the Disney Channel.
Yes. We actually we have another interview coming up with Nick Whittaker, who played Lenny in Read It and Weep. The brother.
Yeah.
The brother.
From Utah.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's we're excited to.
We'll definitely say.
He was sort of he was a local cast, I think. Like I think he grew up in Utah, and they totally blew him out in that story. I think he's even singing in the.
Yes. We can't wait to ask him about that.
Not in the script in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah. Just to start wrapping stuff up, we wanted to give you a chance to, say what you're working on now and what you're doing in the future.
You can give us a sneak peek on anything that's coming up.
There are nobody's greenlighting anything yet because the writer's strike is coming and there's and the director's thing is all happening.
Thank you so much for taking some time out of your Saturday to come talk to us. We really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's been awesome.
Thank you. Really, thanks for asking me. And are you guys seniors or?
I'm a junior
and I'm a freshman, so we're just.
Oh, so you guys have a long way to go.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. So this was such a great opportunity for us. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Maybe I'll see you in an interview someday. And,
maybe.
I'll be interviewing with you guys on your projects.
That would be awesome.
That would be lovely.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're totally welcome.
Yeah. Have a nice day.
Take care.
Okay, let me know if you need anything else.
Yes. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Oh, okay.
Should we just keep recording?
Yeah. Okay.
I'm gonna throw up.
Oh my god.
My backpack was in the shot the whole time.
It's fine. Okay. Oh my god.
I'm like shaking.
Me too. He was so sweet.
Why was he so nice?
He was so nice. He was like, I'm so proud of you guys. I was like,
oh my god.
That was wonderful. That was amazing. Oh my god.
I can't believe that just happened.
Yeah.
I'm in shock.
What?
I mean, Paul,
that was amazing.
thank you for kind of fulfilling a dream. Honestly.
Yeah. Oh my god.
I never. Okay. Can
He
I
was
just
so
say?
candid.
Do you know how much I want to cry right now?
I'm like, that was.
No. Never in a million years would I think I somehow would get some backdoor inside into my literally, and we say the most influential media, whatever, but genuinely into the most formidable experiences of my life.
Some of those.
I can't do it.
Pia, you gotta stay close to the mic. Oh my god. Some of those things that he did, literally made me who I am.
Yeah.
And I don't think he gets.
I don't know if he gets.
I don't know if he understands how Camp Rock 2 actually changed my life. I don't.
I can't breathe. I don't know.
This is so amazing and generous and cool of him to do. I think he gave us some really solid advice.
If we can take anything from this interview, I'm gonna go watch Zombies.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna watch Zombies.
Or should we just
too.
put it on the? Maybe we'll put it. Maybe next season on the podcast we will watch Zombies. We already have some other Paul movies coming up.
That is true.
In next season, but I think we're gonna make sure to have Zombies on there.
Yeah, we do.
I am now
we have
so
some Paul
excited.
movies this summer. Actually,
I'm so excited.
Oh my god, he was so candid about stuff.
Yeah.
Oh my god, he really
I was surprised because he's still working with Disney.
I know, me too.
And I was like, okay, Paul. Paul knows what's up.
Oh my god.
Getting that, it was incredible. That was so crazy.
I'm feeling $1 million.
I really am. I feel exhausted, physically and mentally exhausted.
Yeah.
But I also just feel the coolest person in the world.
I know. And getting him to talk about the Camp Rock scene, I'm so glad we did it. Yes.
I don't know what it is about I think we're obviously going to keep interviewing people, and the more people we interview, this might become more real. But I feel we're I don't know how to put this. These people aren't so far away anymore. They're not disconnected. They're not in this dream
real
place.
People. They're real.
They're real people that are started from the bottom.
Now we're here.
Yeah, but
but I want to get better at having conversations with people while we're interviewing, but I also want them to have
it's hard to do it
their
over
time
Zoom
to talk.
though.
I agree.
I think it was fine.
I think it was fine.
I
too.
think that interview went great.
I think that went swimmingly.
Yeah, I just love that these this industry that seems it's in La La Land, forever away.
Yeah.
Seems it's getting so much closer.
Yeah.
And that is all I've ever dreamed of as a kid is to be 1 degree away from
some
my favorite stuff.
And he seemed so genuinely interested in how we were going to make it with our writing, and he was maybe I'll see you in an interview, and I was like, yes, please, I will do anything.
When are we writing a DCOM?
That should be a season.
We write a DCOM.
Me and Pia write a DCOM. Yeah, okay. It was
one of my
so
dreams
great
in life.
It'd be so fun.
Yeah.
We should do that.
I think we need to process. Take some time.
I think we are so grateful.
Yes.
And
thank you again.
I hope this episode was everything you dreamed of too.
Yeah.
And we've had the coolest guests so far.
Sweet.
And it's really cool to see how these people are humble and
and we're just
despite
gonna
their
keep
success.
doing more interviews like this because
we email a lot of people.
every day.
Yeah.
That is all for this episode
Yeah.
of Childhood Trash. You can follow us at Childhood Trash Pod on Instagram. You can follow Maggie at Maggie N. Keating.
You can follow Pia at Pia LaPlaca. Thank you so much
for listening to this episode of the podcast. We will see you next Thursday. Maybe not. Actually, we won't see you next Thursday.
We won't see you for a while.
We won't see you next Thursday, but we'll be back to do
some summer episodes.
So get ready
for that.
Stay tuned.
Bye.
Bye.